In today's hustle and bustle environment, few Californians can step out of their front door and enter an environmental era that has been lost. Nature's canvas that is a gift we can all share is quickly set aside by the day-to-day demands of life. Our lives today are made up of creating history, not enjoying what has come before.
The Alameda is a work in progress. This video tells the story of the early beginnings of this very special place. 15 acres in the middle of the Veterans Home here in Yountville. The Veterans Home opened its doors on April the 1st, 1884, and within just a few days of its opening, the first trees were planted. Today, within sight of the Alameda, where I'm now standing, are over 350 trees that have been planted from around the world. Looking into the future, many of our home advocates all share in a similar dream. Color will abound. The canopy of trees already here will provide the canvas, and colorful plantings that are planned will add that additional color. A walk is planned through the Alameda with several stops along the way. One stop will be the historical chapel built in 1918, which is now in the National Register of Historical Places. The chapel, once our home museum, is part of our dream that one day it will return to its rightful place as the archival resting place for the home. Guests during the museum pause will be transferred back to the home's early beginnings. The bandstand, centrally located, will be a must stop along the walk. The bandstand was built in 1899 and is the oldest remaining structure on the home. In days gone by, the bandstand provided the Commandant a spectacular view of military formations that assembled and then passed in review. In the Arboretum walk that is planned, refreshments will be available at the bandstand, as bird's eye views of the Alameda will be a cameraman's bonanza.
A current view of our Alameda with two stops along our walk, our historical chapel and the bandstand. The little chapel in the woods is located at the south end of the Alameda. This little church built by men of wars remains the anchor to this heavenly patch of earth and is on the National Register of Historical Places. The church was dedicated on Armistice Day, November the 11th, 1918. Historical significance is placed on the interior of the chapel, as it has a series of Gothic-like trusses which were constructed similar to those built in the early 14th and 15th centuries. Every stick of wood is still there. In 1950, an addition of 750 square feet at the southeast corner was added to provide a multiple-use section. In the beginning, the chapel was surrounded by modestly sized trees to the north and west. A small orange orchard grew to the south, and evergreen trees were developed to the east. Fred Borman was hired as chief florist at the home in 1900. He was a protege of Mr. John McLaren, the designer of the San Francisco Golden Gate Park, and the two were very close. Fred's son Cleve called Mr. McLaren Uncle John. In early 1917, the home procured many trees from the Golden Gate Park and planted a total of 152 trees as examples of trees from around the world. This collection of trees would be almost impossible to replicate today. The Golden Gate Park was fashioned by Mr. McLaren after the famed Central Park in New York City. The park here in San Francisco exceeds the size of Central Park, with more than 1,000 acres and over 1 million trees. Golden Gate Park is truly the crowning achievement of Mr. McLaren. The Veterans Home in Yountville, under the guidance of Fred Borman, with assistance from Mr. McLaren, has inherited a legacy that few areas of the world could duplicate. The home bandstand, the oldest remaining structure on the grounds, is centrally located and is just west of the Alameda. The bandstand was built in 1899 as a stage for concerts and as a reviewing stand for the inspection marches of home veterans. In his annual report on July the 1st, 1900, Colonel George W. Walt, Commandant at the time, wrote, "Now in the course of construction is a beautiful bandstand, octagonal in form, 16 feet in diameter, of Moorish design, with a strong stone foundation extending 5 feet above the ground, and having heavy columns with arch connections supporting a wide cornice and terracotta tile roof." A year later, he wrote, "The bandstand, placed centrally on the grounds and completed last July, forms the foreground to a very pretty daily ceremony. Retreat is regularly observed by the playing of the home band, at the conclusion of which the flag is lowered and escorted under guard to the administration building." Our vision of tomorrow. The Arboretum at Yountville. Your party arrives at the Lincoln parking lot, situated between Lincoln Theater and Section E. A home member greets your party with a colorful brochure mapping out the walk, with written descriptions of floral and trees along the path. Earphones are provided to each member of your party to accompany the stroll through the Arboretum walk. Park benches and picnic tables are everywhere along the walk. Time stands still. Your party can spend an hour or linger all day. 2 stops are featured along the path: the Historical Museum and the home's oldest structure, the Bandstand. The museum shows the history of the home with a video that plays throughout the day. and the Bandstand will be a favorite spot to stop and a great spot for picture lovers. Lemonade and iced tea rest areas are scattered throughout the path. The Veterans Home owes tremendous gratitude to the state of California for providing the daily subsistence from our early beginnings in 1884. Having the state's safety net has allowed the generosity of outside private support to provide the little extras that has made this home so very special. As a prime example of outside contributions, Mr. McLaren, the designer of the Golden Gate Park, is honored for his support to the home. The Alameda would not be the same without his contributions of both trees and time. Today, almost 100 years later, his contributions is enjoyed by all the visitors of the Veterans Home here in Yountville. We pass by pristine plots of land as we drive the freeways to our favorite mall. For a moment, a thought crosses our mind. What a great place for a family picnic. But the thought quickly vanishes as some insignificant ad on the radio breaks our thought. In the Napa Valley, acres of vineyards that have been lovingly cared for, showing the beauty that men can add to nature's canvas, pass us by at 60 miles per hour on the highway. Land has become so expensive today that if a plot is of any size larger than a backyard, it is put to monetary use. Land is valued by economic factors. Beauty becomes secondary. The California Veterans Home at Yountville is an exception to the ordinary. A home member living on the grounds can step out of the living quarters into an arboretum called the Alameda.